and a very warm welcome to Game On. I'm Neha Bhardwaj Alter. Today has been one of those days for me as a sports journalist and an anchor when I can feel the loss of an honest, courageous voice in the game of cricket. One of the finest left-arm spinners in the world, a master of flight and spin whose influence reached beyond the pitch as the voice of fair play and sportsmanship. The former Indian captain, Bishan Singh Bedi, is no more. In what is a huge loss for the game, Bishan Singh Bedi will forever be remembered for his classical action, his subtle variations, his fearlessness, his outspoken attitude, and, of course, his sense of humor. I've been fortunate to spend some time with him over the years, and let me tell you, he could make you laugh in an instant. He had a sharp wit about him. He felt very deeply about the game. And, of course, he always said that if you are a spinner, you need to have a big heart. And that's exactly what he had. So Jamie Alter is here with us. Chetan Narula is here with us as well. And I'll go to them straight away because I'm sure they can feel that loss. Just like every Indian cricket fan, every Indian cricket journalist, because of what he's done for the game. So let's go straight to both Chetan and Jamie. Jamie, let me begin with you. I know that, there have been instances where you've met him, you've had long conversations with him about cricket. What is the one thing right now, when you look back on all those conversations, that stands out for you?
I mean, look, it's I was just on another show, and we briefly touched upon this. So it's just a massive loss. Of course, when you have such great cricketing achievements, you're number 8th on India's all-time list of Test wicket takers. When you've been credited for really redefining or leaving your mark on the art of spin. I think this is one of the most famous images, especially for our generation, which never really got to see him play.
Yeah.
But one of the first names, growing up in a house under the roof of someone who was mad about sport and especially cricket, and someone who, for one of his early heroes, was Mr. Bishan Singh Bedi. So the name obviously was one that we grew up around. Then of course YouTube came along, and not many clips out there, but pictures, and then you read Wisden, you read Cricket Info, then you have this volume of information with which you start to form your own opinions, and then, like you said, you get not once but several times a chance to meet the great man. And look, I mean, I think for me, outside of the obvious skill and stature that he commanded as a player, someone who's been outspoken, and someone who really didn't give a damn about what someone else thought. If he had a view, whether that view were right or wrong, I think that's immaterial. But in a country where not enough icons, as we were talking about, not enough former cricketers speak out on any issue under the sun, for Mr. Bedi to do that consistently as a player, as an administrator, as a coach, we've heard the stories of how many times he took on the DDCA, despite having such stature within the DDCA. So I think, obviously it's a loss to the cricketing world, both Indian and global. It's a loss for the country, but it might sound like a cliche, but they don't make them like Bedi Saab, because apart from the obvious accolades and status as a player, what he did, for the game to speak out, I think that just really sets him apart. So, yeah.
Yeah, as you said, that it was his voice beyond the pitch as well. Everything that he did for cricket is one thing, but even after he retired, as a coach, as a commentator, as an administrator, as somebody who just could not see wrong happen in front of his eyes. And you spoke about, you touched upon that, Jamie, that how he took on the officials in DDCA. Imagine the powerful Arun Jaitley, So he took him on, and he was of the belief that the corruption in DDCA was allowed to burgeon by Mr. Jaitley, and then he raised his voice against it. So, as you rightly said, wasn't afraid to speak out. Somewhere people can say that maybe, what he thought of and what he spoke about sometimes may not have been, the right things, but his heart was in the right place. He wanted the best for this game. Chetan, your first reactions to this news coming in, of course, it's a huge loss, but as a journalist, I'm sure you've had occasions where you've met him, You've spoken to him and he loved talking cricket. Your memories?
Well, I have two distinct memories of him. I had written my book on cricket in 2011, so it took me a couple of years to go through the entire writing process, and I was interviewing a lot of cricketers and cricket personalities for the book. So obviously, writing about that era, 70s, 80s, and obviously after that as well, Bishan sir was obviously, a point of interest, a topic of interest for me. So I had the pleasure of speaking with him at the DDCA once, on telephone a couple of times. I interviewed him for the cricket magazine that I was writing for in my first job as well, and he was always very happy to spend time and give his time to young journalists, inspire them, talk cricket with them.
Yeah.
And it was no surprise really that he gave me that bit of time. Obviously, when I heard this news, obviously it's a very sad news for Indian cricket today, for world cricket, because if I have to describe Bishan sir, then two words come to mind: unique and legend. And very rarely you can have these two words for the same person. He was unique in every way, from the way he flighted the ball to the way he spoke, to the cricket opinions he had, and he was a legend. He was a legend of the game. There hasn't been a left-arm spinner like Bishan sir, not for Indian cricket, not for world cricket, I think. And I think you mentioned about the run-ins he's had with the DDCA. While obviously I was researching for the book and I spoke with him, his role in bringing up cricket in North India is also something that's, because in the social media age, we probably don't know about so much about him. So if I can say so, when the power center of Indian cricket was towards Mumbai in the early 80s and the late 70s, he's the one who kick-started that fire in Northern India cricket. Haryana versus Mumbai became a huge rivalry. You had the likes, you had so many all-rounders coming out of North India, and which is why Delhi became a power center of cricket in the 70s and the 80s, and they could challenge Mumbai, Delhi versus Mumbai, that's the rivalry. Haryana versus Mumbai, that's the rivalry. A young Kapil Dev, Mohinder Amarnath, all the Amarnath brothers for that matter, Chetan Sharma, Madan Lal, all of them brought up under his tutelage that they could, they could just contest with Mumbai in Ranji Trophy cricket and so on. And of course, what Mr. Gavaskar was doing for Indian cricket and for Mumbai cricketers, Maharashtra cricketers down south and towards the west.
Yeah.
This is where Bishan Paji was doing his bit. So yeah, he's been like that throughout his career, whether on the field or off the field. And like I said, if very rarely you can use the word unique and legend for the same person. I think Mr. Bishan Singh Bedi was one of those people.
Yeah, and outspoken with a great sense of humor. Yes, one of the finest exponents of the art of left-arm spin, and a tactician widely acknowledged as one of the best India has produced. He's passed away at the age of 77. The former India captain, who played 67 test matches and 10 one-dayers, stands in the 8th place on the country's all-time test wicket takers list with 266 from 67 matches at an average of 28.71 apiece. Bedi made his test debut in 1966 against West Indies at Eden Gardens and formed a terrific rapport with fellow spinners Irapalli Prasanna, B.S. Chandrasekhar and S. Venkataraghavan, who became known as the spin quartet of Indian cricket. Apart from being an exceptional spin bowler, Bedi was an astute and bold captain who did not shy away from giving it back to opposition teams. He was also outspoken off the field and aired his views without concern for any lashback, which won him countless admirers. After retiring from cricket, Bedi later served as the coach of the Indian team. His views on the state of domestic cricket, Indian cricket and the sport at an administrative and global level were always on offer, should anyone seek Bedi sir out for them. He will be missed by not just the Indian cricket community, but by anyone who ever saw him bowl or had the privilege of meeting him. Now, tributes are pouring in, and rightfully so, which tells you the kind of impact that he's made on people's lives, the kind of impact that he's made on Indian cricket fans, on Indian cricketers. He's had the chance to be in touch with. There is the statement from the BCCI, where BCCI have said they mourn the sad demise of former India Test captain and legendary spinner Bishan Singh Bedi. Thoughts and prayers are with his family and fans in these tough times. May his soul rest in peace. There is a tweet on Twitter by Anil Kumble, and I want to read that out for everybody, because that is the kind of difference that he's made in people's lives. Anil Kumble writes this. This is the one where, of course, he's sharing his condolences with the family. But there is an anecdote. He says, in 1990, before the England tour, we had a camp in Bengaluru, and it was there that I had the first experience of Bishan Paji's big heart and generosity. I requested him if it would be possible for the Indian team to visit RV College of Engineering, where I was a student. I was only a rookie, and it could have been construed as an over-enthusiastic request from an excited youngster. But in a fantastic gesture, Bishan Paji readily agreed and brought the whole team over to the college. That made a lasting impression on me. Bishan Paji wasn't just a softie, as I came to know not long afterwards. He preferred to focus a lot on physical fitness. There was no compromise on work ethic in that regard. It was him who was a hard taskmaster. And this is a wonderful little anecdote, and the difference that this has made for Anil Kumble, Jamie, from one spinner to another, one legend to another legendary spinner. But the difference that would have made for Anil Kumble to have this gesture being made by the great Bishan Singh Bedi. And there are a lot of these anecdotes I've heard over the years, of things that Bishan Singh had done for cricketers.
Absolutely, and I think that just goes back to what Chetan was talking about. Yes, he had a huge role in boosting or giving a facelift to cricket in the north, but everywhere you go, he's someone who, yes, he's outspoken. He would never shy away from calling a spade, but he had a lot of time for anyone remotely connected with the game, and I mean, be it someone in the domestic setup, you had to often go and seek him out. It's not like, obviously as the years went on, he was going to go out, and try and find someone to talk to. But if you came up to him, even if you were a Cub reporter or anyone associated with the game, he had time for you. So imagine players, who played the game. You mentioned Anil Kumble, so many players. I remember just before the Indian team went to Australia in, 14-15, there was an Irani Cup match, the final, in fact, at the Kotla. This was the year when it was, I think it was Rajasthan were defending champions, 13, I believe it was. And this was a time when Pragyan Ojha was being called for his action, and Bishan Singh Bedi was rather scathing in his criticism. But after the match on day 5, Mr. Bedi came to meet both the teams. KL Rahul was there. I remember Robin Bisht had got 180 odd for Central Zone. And and I was, obviously, as a journalist, we see, okay, we knew Pragyan Ojha was there, we knew Bedi sir was there, how was this going to go down? And obviously at some point their eyes did meet, and Pragyan Ojha, being the good respectful Indian he was, he went up and he touched Bedi sir's feet, just like Virat Kohli was doing in that image. But what followed? Now, we reporters there, we couldn't get our ears right to the two gentlemen and what they were saying, but we saw Bedi sir's hand go around him, and I'm sure he must have said something to the lines of, so whatever I've said, I fully believe. And whatever knowledge he passed on to Pragyan Ojha in those couple of minutes they spoke, I'm sure it left a lasting impression on him. Because here's someone, we know his stature, he's a legend of the game, a former captain, the best left-arm spinner from India, and he's telling another left-arm spinner something I'm sure invaluable, probably just weeks after he was so scathing about his action. So that was just one small example, and the line of players, who came up to him and they spoke to him, and then he walked into into now what is the Virat Kohli enclosure with the players, and I'm sure he had a back there, and he must have just dropped pearls of wisdom to all the players. So what you got with him was the truth. What you got with him was love, affection, advice, and for all these reasons, very, very rare to see someone like him.
Now, ICC have also expressed sadness at the passing of Bishan Singh Bedi. There are others, as I've been saying, tributes are pouring in. Let's listen in to Sports Minister Anurag Thakur and what he had to say.
भारतीय टीम के पूर्व कप्तान जिन्होंने देश के लिए बहुत लंबा समय खेला भी, प्रतिनिधित्व किया, बिशन जी आज हम सब के बीच में नहीं रहे। बहुत दुखद समाचार है। इस दुख की घड़ी में हम उनके परिवार के साथ हैं और जहां धर्मशाला क्रिकेट ग्राउंड में खड़ा हूं, यहां पर शुरू में उन्होंने अपने बहुत कैंप्स लगाए और ग्राउंड में ही यहां पर रहते थे, स्टेडियम में ही, खिलाड़ियों के बीच में। और जब मैं पंजाब की टीम के लिए खेलता था, उस समय हमारी रणजी ट्रॉफी की टीम के भी, जब हम उस साल चैंपियन रहे, तो हमारे कोच भी यही थे, बिशन सिंह बेदी जी। तो एक लंबा अनुभव मेरा उनके साथ रहा, एक खिलाड़ी के रूप में भी, एक खेल प्रशासक के रूप में भी। और मैं इतना ही कहूँगा, क्रिकेट जगत को एक बड़ा नुकसान बिशन सिंह बेदी जी के जाने से हुआ है।
सर, आप भी क्रिकेटर रह चुके हैं, क्रिकेट जगत को और कितना मानते चलिए?
मैं मानता हूँ जब महान खिलाड़ी होते हैं, वो एक खिलाड़ी के रूप में, खेल प्रशासक के रूप में या फिर कोच के रूप में कहीं ना कहीं अपना योगदान देते रहते हैं। अपने जीवन में उन्होंने पंजाब से लेकर दिल्ली तक, खेल से लेके खेल प्रशासक के लिए भी बहुत उतार चढ़ाव देखे हैं, खट्टे मीठे सब अनुभव रहे हैं। लेकिन मैं यही कहूँगा कि बिशन जी खिलाड़ी तो थे ही, बड़े मुखर होकर अपनी बात रखने के लिए भी जाने जाते थे।
मैं मानता हूँ बहुत ही दुखद ये समाचार हमें अभी मिला। क्रिकेट जगत में बहुत बड़ा नाम थे और बहुत बड़ी देन उनकी भारतीय क्रिकेट टीम को रही है, भारतीय क्रिकेट को रही है। एज ए कोच भी उन्होंने बहुत ज़बरदस्त काम किया। प्लेयर रिटायरमेंट के बाद उन्होंने कई कैंप तो हमारे धर्मशाला स्टेडियम में भी लगाए। पंजाब की टीम से, दिल्ली की टीम से, हिमाचल की टीम से लगातार वो जुड़े रहे और मानता हूँ बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त कंट्रीब्यूशन उनकी रही और पूरे क्रिकेट जगत को एक बहुत बड़ा नुकसान इसका हुआ है।
Like I've been saying, the impact that he's had on people's lives. Now, we keep talking about India-Pakistan rivalry. We talk about how Indian players are not meant to be friends with Pakistan players. On the pitch, there has to be that competition between them. Here is Intikhab Alam, the former Pakistan captain, who's written a wonderful obituary for Mr. Bedi in the Indian Express. If you have the time, please go read it, where he says, "I'm heartbroken. I've lost a part of my heart today. I can't express in words how I'm feeling. I've lost a friend, a younger brother." You know, I'm just reading out some excerpts. He says, Kaptanji, there's one which he talks about his action and Bishan sir's bowling, and he says, "I used to tease him, Oye Sardar, tu bowling karta hai ya Ghalib ka sher sunata hai." Such a beautiful action he had. And then he goes on to say, "Today I will dedicate a Kishore Kumar song, another favorite singer of ours after Louis Armstrong." He says, "This from the movie Yarana is for Bishan." He says, "Tera jaisa yaar kahan, kahan aisa yarana, yaad karegi dunya, tera mera afsana." And that has been Bishan Singh Bedi and his relationship with even Pakistani players. I mean, you know, there would be anecdotes flowing even whenever I've met him, Chetan, and, you know, there were any conversations around Pakistan matches and what it was like competing with Pakistan. So, yes, I think more than anything else, he just lit up a room when he walked in, you know, be it because of, you know, his outspoken nature or something witty that he had to say. But somehow everybody was just sort of, you know, gathered around him to hear his stories and his anecdotes.
Oh, absolutely. He was a center of attraction wherever and whenever he was around. I remember this one instance. I think I was there with another senior journalist, Mr. Vijay Lokpalli, and we were talking with the late Chetan Chauhan at the DDCA, and you know, we were just talking about old days and again about the health of Indian cricket, etc., etc. And suddenly we got the news that Mr. Bedi was around, and you know, for me to call Chetan sir, Chauhan sir, Vijay sir, I mean, I call them sir, and they call Mr. Bedi sir. So all three of us rushed to, you know, where he was, and then obviously we spent time with him. there, and it was brilliant because it's flowing down through the generations, isn't it? I mean, the respect and the camaraderie, and I think Bishan Singh Bedi was the epitome of that. In a group wherever he was, and again, the thing is, he would not differentiate between different people. Like, for example, if you're a young journalist or a young cricketer or a young administrator, for him, everybody was the same, and he would treat everybody equally. So I think that aspect we don't see very, very often, and that is something to be celebrated. And of course, I'm spending time on Twitter today reading what different things people have to say about him, because there's going to be a sea of odes and anecdotes that are going to be flowing today, because somebody who's rich, who's lived such a rich life. When I say rich, and I'm talking rich in experiences, and there would be thousands and thousands of stories about him, some of them known, some of them unknown, and you just want to soak them all in, and I think today is the day for Mr. Bishan Singh Bedi.
In fact, in that same column, Intikhab Alam says, Bishan, sometimes it's okay to be diplomatic, In his younger days, he would reply, I'll try. After his retirement, he'd say, ab to aadat dal lo, because this is how I'm going to be. Which has been the other thing, Jamie. Like Chetan was saying, that, there was so much more to him. Of course, him being a great spinner, but more than that, even after he retired, just the kind of the kind of feelings he had for the game, how deeply he felt for it, how he wanted to be fair and honest. He picked up issues that he felt he needed to speak about, be it about chucking, be it about fitness, be it about the DDCA corruption issue. So very, very, very important for him to talk about issues that were close to his heart.
Absolutely, and I think, let's just talk about Indian icons, since we're all Indians here. Anytime an Indian icon of that stature passes away, of course you hear about their achievements and what they've done to the game, But I'm just thinking, what we're going to, and Chetan is right, we're going to read a lot and see a lot over the next 24 hours, 48 hours, I hope even beyond that. You probably won't get as many emotional or honest reactions, because of all the facets of Mr. Bedi's life and career on the field, off the field, that we're talking about, right? He was an ever-present figure, especially at events in Delhi, NCR, despite spending the last couple of years, like we're seeing, in a wheelchair. Even when the health was not the best, he tried to just stay out there like the vibrant player and the vibrant character he was.
Yeah.
And when you're outspoken, when you tick off a lot of people, when you take on the establishment, yes, you will polarize. Yes, you will divide opinions, but you're going to win respect, your critics and your fans. And let's face it, he had countless fans, they're going to respect you, because it takes a lot, especially in the Indian cricket system, to take on the big names, to write to the DDCA, at a venue where you have a stand named after you, saying, please take back my lifetime membership, Of course, not everyone's gonna agree with you, and many people say, are you mad? But to just constantly, be who you are, not shirk your responsibilities as a citizen, as an ambassador for the game, that's probably going to win you far more admirers. I think that will probably be, Mr. Bedi's legacy, Yes, outstanding test record, outstanding stats, average strike rate, economy, all that stuff. But, to be one of those rare former players, to be outspoken, to take on people at the risk of, of alienating many of your own peers. I don't think he gave a damn about that. So I think let's celebrate a fantastic life, a fantastic career, but also someone who in many ways probably broke the mold of what a former India test captain should be.
Chetan, for the younger generation, I mean, we haven't watched him play, but we've heard so much about him. We've had the good fortune of meeting him, spending time with him, chatting with him, and then realizing what a legend he is, even off the field. After having heard those legends about him, that the kind of bowling he did on the field. But for the younger generation, what do you think they should remember him as?
Well, they should remember him as somebody who spoke about, what is right and wrong, because somewhere across the years, the lines of what is right and wrong in cricket have been blurred. And here, I would like, Jamie shares a lot of his personal anecdotes, and I would like to share one of mine. And I remember when Muralitharan, that whole javelin throw issue came up. I used to think, as somebody who used to watch cricket, I was very young, obviously, and yet to get into the journalism field. But obviously, you start formulating opinions, you start formulating observations, you start studying the game in that way, because that's the career path you want to head into. And I could understand, what to make of it. And it was Muralitharan's action legal? If Bishan Singh Bedi is Bishan Singh Bedi, you've seen videos of him, the way the ball is flight. There's a single, very, very, easy motion of the arm coming in and, bowling the delivery without any, dubious intent there. So you just wondered, what is right and wrong here? And years later, when obviously I had the chance to interact with him, and he said that, that there's a fine line, the way you bowl, the way you bat, the way you carry yourself within the game. Again, I'm not expressing an opinion about Muralitharan. I'm just trying to tell you that it was a topic that, he helped me understand. He helped me figure out what is right and what is wrong. If in my analysis, like even in today's show, if I am saying, a batsman did wrong in terms of wasting time, turning down singles, playing for his 100, that sense of right and wrong was imbibed in me by Bishan Singh Bedi, because today's generation needs to read up what he said, what he wrote, what he did for cricket, and needs to compare how cricket is being administered today, how it's being run today, how the players are performing on the field. Are they holding themselves to the highest standard? And I think things are grey a lot of times, but if you see it from Mr. Bedi's eyes, there'll be a lot black and white.
Last thoughts, Jamie, before we move on to the match that's going on Mr. Bedi?
Just very, very briefly, you asked Chetan what this generation should learn from him. I'm just going to echo the same thing. What we talked about yesterday, what we talked about this afternoon, if that man was in his full senses while watching yesterday's innings, he would have definitely said something. If he was able to tweet, he would have tweeted something. He would have had views on Virat Kohli, not just yesterday's inning, but the last two innings, turning down singles to get to 100. I think that is something which this social media generation needs to understand, and I fear that they won't. That is something which he would have had views, and like I said, he wouldn't have given a damn what people thought. He would have called it out. I think that's the way I personally will choose to remember him.
Okay, Chetan, you wanted to just say something?
Yeah, if I may add, just want to add that it's good that he did not comment on it, because this vitriol that there is on social media nowadays, fan armies and fan groups of one player versus another player, he was beyond that. His understanding of the game was beyond that. And it's actually great that his experience of the game, his experience of the different fan groups, fandom, that stayed pure. And there is no social media vitriol that he experienced. So I think that's a good thing that it didn't happen.
Okay, we've got to move on to the match that is going on between Pakistan and Afghanistan, which is being played on the same pitch as the India-Australia match in Chennai. And Pakistan have put on a total of 282 for the loss of 7 wickets against Afghanistan. But this after Afghanistan's spinners kept a lid on the scoring front up, and then their pacer, he provided the breakthrough. Abdullah Shafiq, Babar Azam, they added 54, but before that, Azmatullah Omarzai, he was the one who provided the breakthrough for Afghanistan. Abdullah Shafiq, Babar Azam, an opening stand of 56 before Noor Ahmad. He successfully reviewed a not-out decision against Shafiq, who made 58. The quartet of Noor, Mujibur Rahman, Mohammad Nabi, Rashid Khan bowled 38 overs between them for a combined 176 runs and 4 wickets. Noor The 18-year-old Noor Ahmad, he was the most successful, taking the wicket of Shafiq, of Mohammad Rizwan and Babar Azam. Once again, could Babar Azam have scored more? Could he have, finished the innings? And I'm saying finished the innings not in the way you win the match by finishing the innings, but setting up, just providing that impetus, batting first for the team. That's another question. Let's put that to both Chetan and Jamie. 282 for 7, gentlemen. How do you see this? Will Pakistan be happy, in the mid-innings break, or Afghanistan will fancy their chances? Jamie?
I think Pakistan will be very, very happy because, look, when you're playing 4 spinners, that in theory puts, like I said before the match happened, 40 overs of spin. And let's face it, 40 overs are very different kinds of spin, Now, Mujib didn't bowl out, but you got 38 overs of spin. These were not easy conditions to bat, and they got a little bit beyond what Chetan and I thought they would. So I definitely feel Pakistan will be very, very happy. This was not a pitch on which you could just come out and start hitting the ball. The power play score was decent, but, look at how Mohammad Rizwan got out, I think he was beaten first ball, beaten second ball, and then he didn't last very long. And he reached out to a ball that probably pitched a foot and a half outside the off stump, and he found the fielder there backward square leg. So, and just look at the strike rates. Yes, you can accuse Babar because of the tag that comes with him, being the Pakistan captain, #1 ranked batsman. But when you look at how bad he's been in this World Cup, it's definitely progress that he got to 74, I know Afghanistan, as we speak, have got off to a good start. But we have discussed in past shows that they're not the best chasing side. And Pakistan's bowling is, again, not spin heavy. Shadab comes back and Osama Mir has hardly played a couple of matches. But I still think Pakistan should be confident of pulling it off. If Afghanistan win, I would not perhaps call this an upset, only because of how much, how far this team has come on overall as a white ball force.
Also, Pakistan, the fact that Shadab Khan and Iftikhar Ahmed got runs, Chetan, how happy will they be because of these two finally getting among the runs? Shadab Khan has been in terrible form. We've discussed this on the show with the ball and with the bat. At least with the bat, he's come good. They'll be confident after how he has batted along with Iftikhar.
Well, in the context of this game, they'll be happy, of course. At one stage, they didn't. I mean, if those two hadn't batted out, probably Pakistan would have ended up with a lot less, with what Jamie and I predicted, probably. I think batting first on this pitch could be an advantage for Pakistan in that term because, we have mentioned so many times on the show that that as the innings progresses, the ball will become softer and it will not be easier to hit it. And I think given the Afghanistan batting lineup's frailties, which begin from number 4 onwards, you would think it would become more difficult for them to bat on and get those runs. So from that perspective, Pakistan's strength obviously was batting as compared to Afghanistan's batting. So from that perspective, I think Pakistan would be very happy. In the context of the tournament, I'm not so sure. I think Pakistan are not in a great position. But if Babar Azam is getting runs and Shadab and Iftikhar are getting runs today, and obviously the top order, at least Shafiq got runs. So from that perspective, they should be happy. I think, but from this game's perspective, I think they are in a better position than Afghanistan.
Jamie, talk a little bit about Noor Ahmad, the youngster playing his first game of the World Cup. No nerves there and just bowling beautifully.
Absolutely. Like I said, when you're the 4th spinner and this is your first appearance, you clearly aren't in Afghanistan's first choice plans, but then you end up being the most successful bowler. You go for just under 5 per over. You've done the job. I think he got a little carried away by the occasion, because I think his first 2 overs, a lot of the balls were skidding into the batsman's pads. There was a wide or two, and the batsmen were able to work him, off the pads for ones here and there. But once he started to, drift the ball across, that suddenly he looked like a very, very different bowler. And I think on a day when Mujibur Rahman ended up being your poorest spinner, and Rashid, he didn't bowl badly, but when Rashid doesn't get wickets, and you take 3 for 49, that's an outstanding show of faith from the team to pick you. And also you have to back that, I don't know whether they win or lose this match. I don't know how this will impact their future matches because they're 10 out of 10 right now. The semifinals look virtually way out of their league. So I don't know how many more matches he plays. And let's face it, how many teams can call on a fourth spinner of Noor Ahmed's class? He's played in the IPL, he's played a couple of leagues here and there. And the biggest factor is the conditions. Conditions have to dictate, I think three spinners is very rare in this World Cup. And here we've seen four. But hats off to him at that young age for doing so well in his first World Cup match.
Yeah, and it also means that if you really are good with spin, in those conditions, especially in India, in most of the pitches, on most of the pitches, you can make an impact. Okay, so they've got off to a good start, a solid start, 30 for no loss. A lot will depend on the openers, as it has in the past as well, Chetan, for this team. And today is the day they would like to come good because it's against Pakistan.
Well, of course, and I think the next 50 overs, a lot of people in the PCB will be watching as well because it's another opportunity. If they lose, it's another opportunity for them to complain against the BCCI. We told you so. Don't keep this match in Chennai. That's out of thing. So, look, Afghanistan's best bet is to make use of those two shiny new balls. They'll be hard. They'll be coming onto the bat nicely. There hasn't been much dew in Chennai. And then under lights, the ball comes onto the bat nicely. We saw that in the India-Australia game. But again, I think 282 is a tall order. They've done it with the ball under lights in Delhi against England, which was a wonderful experience. I think now is the time for the Afghan batsmen to stand up and say, okay, you know what? We are capable of chasing down 280. We can do that. We can score 280 when we are batting first without pressure, with the top order firing. I think today, again, the top order needs to fire. There is just no doubt about that. I think 75% of their batting strength is in that top order. 50% of that is Ramanullah Gurbaz alone, I would say. So the top four need to give them a good start, put on 150, 180, and then maybe leave it to the middle order to do the rest. It's going to be a close game, I think, given the start that they've made. But yes, like I said yesterday for India's game, do the bulk of scoring in the first 30 overs. Don't leave a lot in the last 20 because the ball is going to get really soft.
You guys want to make any predictions before we move on, guys? I think Jamie was close to that. What you predicted, 270. They've got to 282, but close enough. Do you want to?
I'm going to say, yes. I'm going to say this is the closest match we're going to get. I've said it many times and it's not happened, but I think, like Chetan said, given the conditions, given the start, given the fact that Shadab is back, and really, I mean, if Shadab Khan doesn't take wickets here, where is he going to get a wicket? So I think it's going close. Again, it's just given how poor Pakistan's batting has been and how that often, offsets their bowling. And like I said earlier, it was a gamble that Afghanistan took by picking four spinners, and Pakistan have two, of which one was, I know he didn't bowl all that badly, but he was rattled by dropping David Warner. I'm talking about Osama Mir. And then I think he gave 83 in his 9 overs. He's not experienced. Shadab is just coming back from, apparently, I mean, it's weird. No, one guy gets fever and comes in, and then Mohammad Nawaz gets fever. Let's just say that you guys lost faith in these two players and had to bench them separately. But prediction, I think I would love for Afghanistan to get over the line with 2-3 wickets left. So I'm going to say, yes, they will win by the barest of margins.
Okay. Chetan?
I mean, like Jamie said, I would also like to see Afghanistan win. And I would like to see Afghanistan win just for the pure theatrics of it. But I think Pakistan have enough.
Very nicely he has sidestepped the the actual predictions. But yes.
Too close to call, honestly.
Too close to call, but a close game nevertheless is what we want. Now, there's one topic that we missed the other day, which I want you guys to react to, which is on the pitches being given average rating in Ahmedabad and in Chennai, right? Those are the two pitches that have been given average rating, and this is what Rahul Dravid had to say, and I want you guys to react to this as well. Let's put that quote up of Rahul Dravid. He was asked about these Chennai and Ahmedabad pitches, and he says, he says sometimes wickets will turn a bit, sometimes they will seam a bit, they will swing a bit, they will bounce a bit. All we want to see is sixes and fours being hit in 350 scores as good wickets. Then I disagree. But the first part of this quote where he says, मैं definitely respectfully disagree करूँगा, वो good wickets थे. And he says, I'll answer this in English because I might get myself into trouble. I will definitely respectfully disagree with the average rating given for those 2 wickets. I think they were good wickets. If you only want to see 350 games and rate only those wickets as good, then I disagree with that. I think you have to see different skills on display as well. How surprised are you by the ICC giving these 2 pitches average rating? And do you think they were right in doing so? Because, I mean, I would think that if you really want to discuss a pitch being average, then, you know, it has to be tilted in on one side in a huge way. I didn't think that was happening on those 2 pitches. Jamie?
So here's my take on this. This is not the first time, but it's much rarer for the ICC to hand out these ratings in white ball cricket, right? I don't have a problem because where it actually impacts, you know, the conditions and the players and the overall outcome is in a test match, right? And we've done shows, we've all written, we've all talked in front of the camera on these sort of, you know, what is a poor pitch when it's an Asian pitch? What is a poor pitch when it's a South African pitch? What is a poor pitch when it's a pitch in the Caribbean, right? I understand these ratings apply more to test cricket, right? So I'm not sure. I mean, what was so poor about these 2 tracks? Was it poor that England? I mean, Chetan was there, so I'm waiting to see what he says. You're talking about, you know, Ahmedabad track. What was poor? This is the format, Meha, that is calling out for a contest, right? Bilaterals are the most boring form of cricket. Yes, I've been very vocal that, you know, the matches are not being close, but I don't know what was poor about the Chennai track. Ashwin was played for a reason. You know, we discussed this. Ashwin was the one who in his first over put doubts in Stephen Smith's mind, which then, you know, set all the doubts in all the other batsmen's mind. So I'm going to go with Rahul Dravid on this one and say, you know, as a contest, that match was actually for me one of the more memorable matches because it brought a test legend into the frame suddenly. It saw Stephen Smith and Marnus Labuschagne really struggle. David Warner, who's blasted 163, he was made to struggle. So in these days of flat tracks and small boundaries and batsmen, you know, I mean, would I want a 428 and 754 runs in a Kotla match, or would I want to see what happened in Chennai between these 2 teams?
Yeah.
Any day I'll take that match. You want to give a poor rating? Please give the Kotla track that day a poor rating. So I'm with Rahul Dravid on this one.
Absolutely. No, so am I. I mean, I don't understand why these 2 pitches would be given that. What are they expecting from the pitches here? And how different can they be? Chetan?
Well, first of all, you know, kudos to Rahul Dravid to put it the way he did. I think he put it aptly. You know, there's no definition of a good or bad wicket in ODI cricket. You want to see all-round skills, and that's what we saw. Now, I was at both games. I think Chennai did turn a bit too much for ODI cricket, but that's pretty. But that's okay. I mean, so what if a pitch turned? Like Rahul Dravid said, you don't need 350 every time. Sorry.
Was it unplayable?
No, it wasn't. Obviously, it wasn't unplayable.
Yeah.
Australia collapsed.
Yeah.
And India was also. I mean, look, India was also in a lot of trouble. They were 10 for 3, chasing 200, and I think that was. We haven't had any close games, but in terms of intense passages of play, Virat Kohli, KL Rahul battling against those 3 Australian fast bowlers, probably the most intense passage of play in this World Cup.
Yeah.
Probably. Everybody was just gripped with that passage of play. Look, you know, a lot of pitches are rated average. Let's be very honest. A lot of them.
Yeah.
This is being played up because these are India games. You know, let's be very honest about it. And I call this the colonial hangover in cricket, where Western people, they decide how an ODI should be played, a test match should be played. First 2 days, there should be movement. Second and third days should be great for batting. Fourth day, fifth day, spin should come into play. Now they are deciding how ODIs should be played. I've read on social media, oh, no close games this World Cup, no close games this World Cup. Tell England to bat properly. Why don't you tell your team to bat properly? You know. So I call this the colonial hangover in cricket. They decide how a game should be played and then they rate pitches accordingly. I don't think the ICC is at fault here, even if it's an average pitch. It is okay. A lot of pitches are called average. It's just being played up because the World Cup is in India and it's not the greatest World Cup, but it's being overly scrutinized. I think we are scrutinizing very, very small things, so many small things. I think it's being overly scrutinized now, and the narrative is being set up in that particular way, and I don't like it.
Okay, with that, we're going to wrap this up. Completely out of time, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here, Jamie Alter and Chetan Arora. Pleasure always. And we're going to wrap this up by just paying a tribute to Mr. Bedi, who passed away today at the age of 77, one of the greatest spinners to play this game. An outspoken person, somebody who had a great sense of humor, lit up a room when he walked in, always had an interesting anecdote to tell. Connoisseurs of cricket, they loved him because of his classical action, the flight and guile. Everybody who's watched him bowl were fascinated by how he bowled beautifully, that action itself. And the ones like us who didn't watch him bowl, but had the honor of meeting him after he retired. We all have wonderful stories about Mr. Bedi, so it's a huge loss for not just Indian cricket, world cricket as well. He's somebody, who spoke honestly and felt very deeply about the game. So here we are, paying our condolences to his bereaved family, and may he rest in peace. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.